be brought to the scene. Hellfire is a living, breathing organism. It relieves, it asks for relief, and it burns. It continues to live, and it breathes. The fourth indication is that the sun and the moon will be thrown into the hellfire. Obviously, that's the clearest indication, because we know the size of the sun and the moon, and if they are thrown into hellfire, the size of hellfire is larger. You might wonder why sun and moon would be thrown into hellfire, and as a punishment. Is that a punishment for them? The reason is that anything that was worshipped besides Allah will be thrown into the hellfire. The sun and moon and the stars has been worshipped besides Allah, and it will be thrown into the hellfire. So the next topic is the levels of hellfire, right? Hellfire is divided into ranks and levels. The levels of Jannah, right? The levels of Jannah, they get better as you go from the bottom to top. So the higher the better for Jannah. With hellfire, the lower the worst. So the levels of hellfire they go from the top to bottom. The levels of paradise, they go from bottom to top. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Innal munafiqina fi ad-darqil asfalin min an-nar. It says the munafiqeen, the hypocrites, are in the lowest levels of hellfire. Then we know that there are levels above it. Like we know of the uncle of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Abu Talib will be in. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says that he will be in the shallow pool. Abu Talib will be in the shallow pool of fire that reaches his ankles. Other people are surrounded by fire in the midst. The uncle of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the fire will only reach to his ankle, and it will cause his brain to boil. That is supposed to be the least punishment in Jahannam. So you can imagine how the other levels would be. Then the gates of hellfire. Hellfire has gates. How many gates does it have? It has seven gates. And how many gates does paradise have, which is Jannah? And Jannah has 8 gates. In the Quran, in verse chapter 15, verse 44, it says hell has 7 gates. For each of those gates is a special class of sinners assigned. In Surah Zumur, there is a verse that says, وَسِقَ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا إِلَى جَهَنَّمَ زُمُرًا حَتَّى إِذَا جَاءُوهَا فُتِحَتْ أَبْوَابُهَا وَقَالَ لَهُمْ خَزَنَتُهَا أَلَمْ يَأْتِكُمْ رُسُلٌ مِّنْكُمْ. Says, and those who disbelieved will be driven in groups till when they reach it, the gates of hell will be opened, and its keepers will say, did not the messengers come to you, reciting you the verses of Lord, and warning you meeting of this day of yours? And they will say, yes, and the statement was true. Meaning they were given the warning and they had seen it come true. Allah says that the unbelievers will be led in crowds, in groups, until they arrive there. The fuel of hellfire. The fuel of hellfire are the people of hellfire, and also the rocks, the stones. So it does not require gasoline or anything like that. The people are the fuel. In Surah Baqarah and Surah Tahrim it says, and this verse is kind of directed to the leaders, which are the men over here. So you may want to take this to your family and warn them. It says, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, O you who believe, qu anfusakum, it says, save yourselves, wa ahlikum, and your families, naran waquduha an-nasu wal hijara, from the fire whose fuel is men and stones. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to save us and our families from hellfire. The fuel of hellfire is internal. It is from within. It's the people that are there, they're burning each other. So they're sharing their punishment with each other, and it's also the rocks. So the heat of hellfire has also a description. And this is in Surah Waqi'ah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that the companions of left hand, what will be the companions of left hand? They will be in the midst of the fierce blast of fire. So there is a blast going on, and in the boiling water and in the shade of black smoke, nothing will be there to refresh nor ease. So things are getting even worse. It says water is mentioned, breeze is mentioned, and shade is mentioned in this verse. It says these are the three ways to cool ourselves from heat. These are the three ways. So the people of hellfire will have these three options. They will have water, they will have wind, and they will have shade. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has mentioned these three in the verse. It says, Fi samumin wa hamim. Samum is air. Samum is air that is very dry, scorching hot. That is the breeze that they will get. Instead of the breeze that is supposed to cool them down, it will burn them. It's very dry. Yahsamum is referred to wind that comes from up north and blows through Arabia. So by the time it comes from up north, it loses its moisture because of the dryness of the desert, and it also loses all its humidity. And when it comes towards Arabia, it's scorching hot and burning. I remember when I was in the school playing soccer in summer at 45 degrees. After we run too much around in the field, our lips start to bleed because of the dryness. They crack. So the wind is called samum. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says hellfire will have the same type of wind, scorching, hot and dry. Hamim. Hamim is water. It is boiling water, and that's the water. That is the water they will get. وَزِلٍّ مِّن يَحْمُومٍ. It says shade. They will look for shade, and they will get it, but this shade will be dark cloud in black smoke. That is the shade that they will be offered. When they will get into it, it will choke them because of the dryness and also the smell. This shade and water will be offered to the people of hellfire. In Al-Mudaththir, it says, وَمَا أَضْرَاكَ مَا سَقَرْ لَا تُبْقِي وَلَا تَضَرْ لَوَّحَةً لِلْبَشَرِ. It says, and what will explain you what hellfire is? So this is the worst situation here. It doesn't permit to endure, and it doesn't leave alone, darkening and changing the color of man. Another verse, which is the worst news for the people of hellfire, it says, فَذُوقُوا فَلَنْ نَذِدَكُمْ إِلَّا عَذَابًا. Says, and taste, and we shall give you nothing but more punishment. So the people of hellfire will go and complain about the punishment that they are receiving, and the answer will be given to them that every day the punishment will be severe than the day before. So it's not improving the situation. Imagine this is the life of hell for infinite time, for eternity, for some categories of people. As a Muslim, we do not want to be out of balance of good deeds and get there. Not for a minute, not for a second. That is not what you want. It is this description, this verse is sufficient enough to cause us understanding of what really we are getting into. So the size of the people of hellfire and paradise will be much greater than what we have in this dunya. Sizes will be exaggerated. It will be larger and much larger. In Tirmidhi, there is a hadith that Rasulullah ﷺ says that the thickness of the skin of the people of hellfire is 42 dira. And dira is, 1 dira would be equal to 1 meter, which is like 3 feet. So if it is 42 dira, do the math, it'll be like 126 feet is the thickness of the skin. Now you might wonder why specifically the skin. The skin is the center of nerves. That is where the pain is felt first. And so that will be the thickness of the people of hellfire. Rasulullah ﷺ says that the tooth of people of hellfire will be like the mountain of Uhud. So For those who actually visited Mecca and they know the mountain of Uhud, you may want to Google online and see the size of it. It's very huge, and that's the size of the tooth of the people of hellfire. And the area occupied by them, if they are sitting, is the distance between Mecca and Medina. So why are the sizes expanded? And the reason for that is that there will be more surface area and hence more exposure to the punishment. So it is much more exposure, much more painful to have that much surface area and into the hellfire, exposed to the fire. So with this, I will end my talk. So brothers and sisters, I would want to say that I have only scratched the surface of the details that are there about hellfire. Maybe less than 5% of what we just talked about al-akhirah. There is a lot of details, and those details are not something that we have heard from childhood from our parents. It's not that. There is a lot of details. You want to know if your boss says, if you do this, I will give you a position of whatever, right? If you don't know the value of that position, then you're not going to be active in trying to get there, which is what Jannah is. You need to know what you're getting, and that's when you will start giving up here, right? Same thing will happen if your boss says, hey, if you don't show up to work, I will put you in basement. I don't know, I'm just making stuff up. You don't know what's there in the basement. You don't care. Let him put in the basement. I'll still get the salary. Don't worry about it. Allah will give you food. Don't worry about it still. Do whatever you want. Allah will still feed you, right? Same thing in dunya. So you need to know what you're getting into. So I request our, the people who are the speakers here, the Imam, go through the topic of al-akhirah so people can know what they are signing up for. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.